Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows around world football this weekend. We had the FA Cup this weekend, quarter-final stage, so some monster fixtures there. We also had Premier League games as well. Manchester United got through to the next round, but we're not talking about them yet. In fact, at all today. Chris Hamill joins me, though, from his office/bedroom/study. How are you, Hamill? How was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, can clarify. This is in fact the office. It's not my bedroom. I do not sleep here. Only if I've been a bad boy. That'd be pretty sad, wouldn't it? Sleeping where you work. I had a brilliant weekend, Joseph. Got the Adriano video out on Eurofootball Daily. Watched Leicester versus Chelsea. What about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I think we had 4 dubs this weekend on Warzone, which is pretty strong, I think. 4 Ws, I think at least 8 top 10 finishes, so a good weekend on Warzone was had by all. But we're not here to talk about Warzone. We're here to talk about Wolverhampton Wanderers. That's the talking point of the day. It was submitted by Kante season.
I mean, competing for that last Champions League berth is starting to look like a war zone, isn't it, Tomlinson? Because after yet another brilliant victory away at Aston Villa, Wolves somehow are in with a shout. So they just leapfrogged Manchester United into 5th, although the Red Devils do have a game in hand. And they're now just 3 points away from 3rd place Leicester in the table. An unthinkable scenario, even prior to the break, let's say. They've only lost 6 games all season, the 2nd best record in the division. The goal that secured all the points came from Leander Dendoncker, a left foot rasper after 62 minutes, taking the points back to the Black Country. And even the Belgian said post-game that the players were dreaming. It was nice to dream, actually, to quote him, of Champions League football. Although if they carry on in their current vein of form, they won't have to be dreaming much longer. I still can't quite grasp it. It's a really alien concept, them being in with a shout for UCL football, isn't it? I just want to shout out Leander Dendoncker's all-round effort, because while his goal secured the points, his all-round game really made him stand out in this fixture. So he won 14 of his 21 aerial and ground duels, so he was doing the dirty work as well, by far the most of any player on that pitch. And yeah, he's really coming on strong for them at the end of this campaign, Tomlinson.
Yeah, definitely, and it was that defensive work alongside his teammates that helped Villa put up just 0.4 expected goals. Obviously, it doesn't help that Villa don't have a goal scorer in the whole squad at the moment, really. I think Keenan Davis is trying his best going forward. Too much pressure on Jack Grealish, and that Vesely injury has really hampered them. But yeah, that defensive work by Dendoncker shouldn't go overlooked, because Wolves now have 4 clean sheets on the bounce, which is the best record they've ever had in the top flight. That's a run that goes back 30 years, and their defence has been pretty solid all season, to be honest with you. It's the 5th best defensive record in the league. I think Liverpool, Man United, Leicester and Man City, maybe Sheffield United as well, actually have better records than them. So they've been pretty impressive in nearly all facets of the game. Going forward, there were headlines about Adama Traore, because yet again he was left on the bench, wasn't he? A lot of people saying, this could be prelude to him leaving in the summer. Others saying that no, Nuno just likes his impact off the bench. He obviously has a massive impact every single time he comes on. I think Wolves got their goal within a minute of him coming onto the field against Villa. And I did see some rumours linking Adama Traore to the likes of Liverpool. Mundo Deportivo was saying multiple clubs have submitted offers. Liverpool are extremely interested. Do you think he's ready to take that next step? Is he ready to step up to a club of the size of Liverpool, do you think?
I think his ability as an all-round player would dictate that he's at the right level of club right now. Obviously, if a manager with a sort of specialised system comes in for him, I can see them making him an extremely effective weapon in a highly organised system, right? Say your Contes, say your Klopps. And that's where I can sort of envisage a 50, 60 million pound move. Is he better than a Wolves side competing for 4th place? No, but does that mean he can't be a really dangerous player for a top side? No. I wouldn't spend the amount of money that's being quoted on him, on the player, but that's not to say that the big boys don't have that money in reserve, and Wolves have the ability to withstand those bids, and if they secure Champions League football, they want to secure their best players, won't they? So it's going to be tough to get him out of the Molineux. So I can see a little bit of friction probably happening there between the player and club in the summer if those moves are made, Tomlinson.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'd be really surprised if Adama Traore left this summer. I think in a post-COVID world where finances are going to be pretty tight on some of the top clubs as it is, I would be surprised if Wolves were to sell one of their best assets. They can probably withstand big bids in the same way Leicester can, where Leicester are now able to ask for, sort of 70, 80 million pounds for pretty much any of their players. And you'll probably see the same for Ben Chilwell this summer. So I just think he'll be too expensive for a move this summer. But what do you guys think? Will Adama Traore still be playing his football at Wolverhampton Wanderers next summer? Or is he good enough to make a move to a Barcelona, a Real Madrid and a Liverpool? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Yeah, I think you all guessed by now who was going to be our first winner from this match week, and the suggestion comes from VS Game 8, and it is, of course, Frank Lampard's Blues. But before we progress, Joseph, just a quick reminder to all the non-subscribers out there to bloody hit that button. What are you playing at? Set your reminders as well so you don't miss another episode of Winners and Losers from here until the end of the season. Joe, the game against Leicester wasn't a classic, but Frank will be a happy boy.
Oh yeah, tops off a fantastic week in terms of results, at least. Maybe not in terms of performance, but in terms of results for Chelsea, of course. Beating Manchester City 2-1 in a pretty tight affair midweek, and then getting through to the FA Cup semi-finals. It's all that matters. Get through that round. Forget your performance at the quarter-final stage. It don't matter as long as you're in with a shot of that final and in with a game at Wembley. Let's talk about the Manchester City game first, because I don't think we did it last week. I was off, so you might have done, so forgive me if you've already spoken about this, Hamill, but of course it handed Liverpool that title, doesn't it? Yes, congratulations to all the Liverpool fans out there. Enjoy it, because hopefully it isn't going to last too long from my perspective anyway. Maybe Chelsea might be one of the teams that are battering the door down next season. You never know, because they are assembling one hell of a squad under Frank Lampard. It has to be said, and some of the signings they're being linked with are very, very exciting, and they're in a pretty good position. Their next couple of games are against West Ham and Watford, obviously both teams in the bottom 5, and they could set up a nice little buffer to the likes of Wolves and Manchester United if they come out with 6 points from those 2 games. And then on the weekend, of course, I spoke about it already, they progressed to that semi-final. 5 wins in all competitions on the bounce now for Frank Lampard after beating Leicester City. It wasn't the best game. I missed the first 45 minutes of it, but I know you said Leicester were kind of on top first 45. I think Ross Barkley, we're going to speak about in a minute, kind of changed the game a little bit at half-time. But coming into the game, Chelsea, in my opinion, were probably favourites. I think Leicester have been on a pretty poor run of form now. Chelsea obviously on a good run of form, and Leicester have lost 5 FA Cup quarter-finals on the bounce, and it played out like that. Chelsea in the end scraped to victory, and I say scraped because Frank Lampard after the game was not happy at all with his team's performance.
So as I say, when it looks like I'm criticising, I'm actually positive about the fact that that's not the norm for us, but I felt like it had to be addressed, and as I say, it'll give the players a bit of leeway because of the situation. These are tight turnarounds, and sometimes it's relatively understandable. So I wasn't happy with that. We're not happy with that. The players want to win this game. We knew we needed more. We were fortunate not to be losing at half-time, and they delivered more.
Yeah, you can see why Frank was displeased. Chelsea's second string, not entirely convincing there, and they're going to need to make defensive additions if they want to challenge Liverpool for the title, like you said, because the likes of Emerson, Zuma, not convincing throughout this 90. Emerson in particular doesn't strike me as a player that excels in any one area. A solid second choice, don't get me wrong, but they need to upgrade that full-back position pronto, don't they? Reece James's fitness was a slight concern, absolutely blowing, chasing Ben Chilwell and Harvey Barnes in this game. And Kurt Zuma, I just wish he'd rediscover some of the confidence that he managed to put together at Everton, because he seemed very unwilling to step out of the line and be brave in possession, just sort of giving it to Rudiger at every given opportunity. But on the whole, the game was actually a fairly even affair. Chelsea slightly edging possession. They conceded 10 shots to Leicester's 8 as well. England international Ross Barkley, I don't know why I described him as England international, that's quite a weird intro for him, ultimately changed the game when he was subbed on. Mason Mount being hauled off at half-time. He registered 3 of Chelsea's 4 shots on target, in fact, completed 2 dribbles and clocked up a key pass in the process. And despite despite those very promising numbers, there were times that he slowed up the attack. There were 2 or 3 passes to Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which really took the sting out of Chelsea's sort of counter. So there's areas he can definitely still improve in. But let's hope he sort of, discovers some goal-scoring form under the tutelage of Frank. And despite, a pass percentage of 82%, like I said, his decision-making still left some people shaking their heads. Incredibly, his goal against Leicester was the first the Foxes have conceded in the competition, meaning they were the last team left in the side not to concede a goal in the 1920 edition. It also stretched Brendan Rodgers' winless position against Chelsea to 15 games, incredibly. Just can't buy a victory against the Blues.
Brendan Rodgers, mate. Rodgers.
Definitely. No W's there for him. It doesn't get much easier for his Leicester side either. A really tough run in Everton, Arsenal, Sheffield United and Tottenham before the season closes out. Chelsea, of course, have that semi-final tie against Manchester United to look forward to at Wembley. So plenty of obstacles for Frank's side to overcome, but he'll be looking forward to ties of that magnitude, no doubt. But can Chelsea win the FA Cup tie, or the FA Cup full stop even? Let us know in the comments below, guys. Let's quickly move on because my phone's running out of battery.
Right, moving on to the weekend's loser. Now, this was sent in by Hassan Stoner. He put Southampton as a winner, but we're twisting it on its head because Watford in this game were dreadful, and they've been dreadful for most of the season, so they are in our losers category. I want to start, though, by putting some praise onto Ralph Hasenhüttl's side, because at one stage this season, it looked like they might be getting dragged into the relegation mix, particularly after that 9-0 drubbing by Leicester City. It feels weird that was even this season. That feels so long ago. But they're now 13 points clear of the drop zone. They've got the magic 40-point mark. I think they're now going to be safe and they can push on a little bit here. And their away form this season has been pretty remarkable. 8 wins on the road this season. That's a club record for a single top flight campaign. They're actually the 5th best away side in the league this season. Only Wolves, Chelsea, City and Liverpool have earned more points than them on the road. So that is pretty impressive for Ralph Hasenhüttl, but he needed it because the home form has been absolute to be honest with you. But let's talk about Danny Ings, because yet again, he was the man to provide the W, netting twice.
Danny Zings, mate.
Yeah, first goal as well, set up by the best name in the league, Willie Smallbone. William Smallbone must have been hell getting through high school, but he's playing for Southampton, so who the hell cares? Danny Ings' 20th goal in all competitions, by the way. That's just the second time he's managed that in his entire career. Pretty much all-round perfect striking performance as well. 2 shots, 4 dribbles, tackle and an interception as well. A double for him. Brilliant performance from Danny Ings, one of the most informed strikers in the league. One of England's best strikers right now. But, Hasenhüttl has needed it because, like I said earlier, the home form Southampton have put up has been pretty bloody poor.
We have to do something because our home record is a disaster. So we must make it better in away games. It's crazy this season, but okay, we take it, yeah.
Oh, Willie Smallbone, what a guy. Moving on to Watford then. Horrific result for the Hornets. They continue their 5-game winless run in the Premier League. In fact, their only victory in the last 10 was that unlikely victory over champions-elect Liverpool. Hornets outshot in this game 8-11, managing a mighty, meaty 0 on target compared to Southampton's fairly decent 7. Their only goal coming from a Bednarak OG. An XG of 0.4, pretty much summing up a toothless Watford performance in this game. And what's going to disappoint Nigel Pearson? Nigel Pearson looks pretty decent, by the way, in lockdown with that silver.
I thought so as well.
Very, very suave, in fact. What's going to disappoint Pearson even more was just the sheer lack of fight that's become a hallmark of his sides, right? Particularly at this juncture in the season when they need to survive. Southampton made nearly double the amount of tackles that Watford put up, despite slightly edging possession. Struggled in the air too. Deeney's 5 aerial duels objectively looks decent, but then you do the maths, and that actually only accounts to a 22% win rate, with Bednarak and Vestergaard completely dominating him in the air. And there was just a staggering lack of creativity in Watford's central midfield, as indicated by the absurd amount of long balls to Deeney. That was their plan A, B and C through the whole game. Just hit Big Troy and hope he makes it stick, and then he can bring Ismail Assar into the game. Yes, it did not work. Only Ismail Assar and Craig Dawson created a chance for their teammates in this game. Craig Dawson, of course, scoring that overhead kick the week before. Absolute weapon now. Creative force for the Hornets. Unfortunately, Watford's fixture list, I wouldn't like to see them go down. I prefer West Ham to go down. They've huffed and puffed, but not really got the 3 points in an awful lot of games, haven't they? Their fixture list not kind towards the end of the season. So they have a trip to Stamford Bridge, they have a trip to the Emirates, a home game against Manchester City, and then 2 huge, potentially season-defining ties against Norwich and West Ham. So that makes up the last 5 of the last 6 games. Do you think they've got enough in them to beat the drop, Joseph, or was that the death knell, a home tie against Southampton?
Those 2 games against Norwich and West Ham are monumental. If they pick up 1 point from Chelsea, Arsenal and City, they've done pretty well, like they did against Leicester. I think that result against Leicester kind of shows how average Leicester are right now, to be honest with you, because Watford are gopping. But they've got to change it up. It's got to be something other than 25 long balls fired in at Troy Deeney, and he's lost 20 of them. They're struggling, and a bit like Villa, I'm just not sure they've got the firepower to stay in the division.
Yeah, fair assumption. I've not heard you say gopping as well since circa 2K17, so what a treat for all the guys at home. Some football daily nostalgia for you there. Yeah, nice one, Watford. That's it. That's the end of the show, isn't it? We're only doing 3 teams from here on in because it's absolutely painful transferring the files to one another, guys, to edit. So have we got anything else to push?
Well, obviously, we've got ERU today. I'm sure they're going to be talking about that. Karim Benzema assist, or hopefully, anyway, because it's absolute filth. Sort it out, Karim. But yeah, go and watch ERU for all of Europe's biggest stories. And Cristiano Ronaldo. Some Cristiano Ronaldo news in there as well.
Yeah. Good advice. Oh, I'm on 10% battery, as you'll probably just see from my phone screen. Yeah, that's it for this week. Bye, guys.